It says, "O Saraputra, all dharmas are characterized by dependence upon causation." What's the meaning of dependence upon causation? What's causality? And then it goes on to say, they are neither created nor do they perish. That means they are not own being, own becoming. They are neither pure or impure. They are neither increasing or decreasing. Why does it say that? And in this lecture, if we can cover that paragraph, then it would be quite sufficient if we can. So you can see a sutra uttered by the Buddha is not about you believe in God, you believe in me, you believe in a Buddha, and then you will have forgiveness. It's not an idolizing, it's an understanding of the philosophy of humanity. It's an understanding of phenomena. So if you're thinking of Buddhism as a blind faith, I think you have mistaken it. It's not a blind faith religion. It's not a blind faith. Some people say this is philosophy. It's an inquiry into the truth of humanity, into the truth of cosmos. So what is causality? Every effect has multiple causes to it. It does not come out from nothing. There must be causes for something to come true. Everything, material elements or mental elements, are characterized by causation. It does not mean that things do not exist, but rather their existence is dependent on multiple causes and conditions. Nothing has its own inherent self-nature. That's what it means by causation or causality. So that means all things are no self. That is no actual svabhava. They do not have a true reality. I already have explained it last time, so I'm just doing a summary in here. All things are changeable and are therefore impermanent. Because of impermanence, the individuals experience suffering. Because of changeability, because of impermanence, then we all experience suffering because we believe everything to be permanent. We believe everything to be not changeable. We're not going to think that tomorrow we're going to die. I mean, who would think tomorrow we're going to die? We're not going to think about changes. We may know about changes. We know changeability, but we don't think that way. You may not realize you don't think that way. You always think that tomorrow it's as good. You don't think there's changes. Well, changes does not mean that it's always changed to be no good. It changes to be good too. It's both sides. And causality covers 3 times: the past, the present, and the future. It's not just of the present life. Causality relates to previous lives, many, many lives. You should well know that we don't have just this life. We have other lives in previous lives. And we have future life. If we roll again into karmic energy of reincarnation, we'll roll into the next life. And I always give an example of this body is nothing but a hotel you live in. And you can't stay in this hotel all the time. One day you're going to check out. You already check in, you're going to check out. What hotel you're going to go next depends on what you have done in this life or in previous life. You book your own hotel. Nobody did. Cause and effect is the law of causation. If there's a cause, there must be an effect, and vice versa. All dharmas, or everything arise, abide, or maintain itself, and then it change, and then it disintegrate. So it has a cycle. Everything is like that. There's nothing that does not go in that cycle. Our body becomes given birth to, and then we maintain this body. We are still a teenager, we are adult, and then we change to be old, and then finally we die. No exception. And we want to know why. We want to know why it's such a phenomenon. Why do we have to die? Why do we become old age? And why do we have to suffer? Why do we have all these sufferings, and why would we have these mental afflictions? Can we get away from all this? That's the purpose of Buddhism. Get away from this. Get away from suffering. Get away from mental afflictions. Get away from reincarnation, from life and death. Not just for yourself, for all your folks, for all others. And we call it enlightened yourself and enlighten others. It's not about idolizing a God. No. It's about how you walk that path to achieve that end. Nobody can. God cannot walk it for you if there's a God. The God actually is in you. That God is in you. Each cause and condition has three moral qualities: goodness, evil, and neutral, or good, bad, and neutral. Good, bad, and neutral. Every cause has a good nature to it, a bad nature to it. And who build up there, who cultivate these causes? Buddha? No. You yourself. You cultivate those causes. What are the good causes? Just to give examples. Have you been greedy? Have you been committing a lot of evil actions and deeds? Have you been greedy? Have you been ignorant? Have you been hatred, anger? All those are bad causes. Did you kill? Did you steal? Did you lie? Did you get intoxication? Or did you commit sexual misconduct? All those are supposed to be morally bad causes. Or have you been compassionate, considerate, helpful? You exercise due care, responsible. Have you been cultivating good causes? You yourself cultivate those causes. When you have cultivated those causes, it will lead to certain effects. Good cause will lead to good effect, bad cause will lead to bad effect. And then there's some neutral causes, neither bad or good. And we already explained that. All phenomena arise because of the mutual relationship of countless causes. In the Sanskrit language, we call it hetu, and conditions, pratyaya. That means if there's an effect, there must be the major causes, and there must be also other conditions that make this cause carry into an effect. Conditions are the contributing causes. So even if you have a cause, a major or primary cause, you also build up conditions. Actually, those conditions are also causes. You build up conditions for this major cause to come true. You want to be recognized by your boss, you want to be recognized by the company. If say that's what you want a recognition, you want everybody to think that you want to be a good worker. Have you had those primary cause? Do you have the determination to be a good worker? Have you built up enough conditions for you to be recognized? Are you hardworking? Are you responsible? Did you build up good relationships? All these are conditions that help your main cause to come true. Have you been building all these things? You are the master of your own fate. You are the master of your own destiny. Causes are direct, conditions are indirect, generally speaking. If the related causes and conditions did not exist, no result would come into being. Cause, conditions, and effects. And then somebody may ask, how does it help me? How does this Buddhist approach to life help me? You should know how it will be helpful to you. First of all, you have to identify morally what kind of causes, the nature of the causes that you're making. Secondly, have you been working towards those causes, building up conditions? It's never too late. Do it now. The past is gone. You can't change the past. Don't agonize on the past. Change yourself. Nobody can. God cannot. You yourself. Whatever the mind can conceive, the mind can do, can carry out for you. If you have just this concept in mind, and if you really put your efforts through it, you will be successful in whatever you're doing. Don't agonize on the past, it's gone. Don't worry about the future. No past, no future. You can plan onto the future. Attention is on what you're doing now. Change it from today on. Building up good causes. Eradicating all the bad causes. And bravely, courageously accepting whatever it will come to you as effects, because you have done those causes that will bring you the effects that will come. And then there's a very important concept in causality that you have to know, and that the Buddha always mentioned, and that's the concept of svabhava. This is something very philosophical, a little bit abstract in thinking. Sanskrit word svabhava, just the opposite of that word, is asvabhava. If you put an A in front in Sanskrit, it becomes the opposite of that. So what is svabhava? Literally, it means own being or own becoming. It is the notion that an object has its own intrinsic nature of coming into being, does not depend on any condition, has no causes for its becoming, can avoid any changes, and exists forever. If something is svabhava, that's what it means. It would exist forever. It is not subject to change. It does not depend on any conditions for it to come true. It has its own becoming. Isn't that the definition of God? Nobody created God. I mean, definition of quote and unquote, the common sense of God. God does not have to be created. If it has to be created, it's not God. I mean a common understanding. I don't mean it's a true understanding. A common understanding of that word God is God does not need to be created. God comes into being. God can control anything. God will not change. If a God changed to be non-God, it's not God. God does not need anything to make it come into being. But by definition, there's no such thing. By definition, there is no svabhava in this world. We have not known anything that would be permanent. We have not known anything that does not depend on conditions to come true. We have not known anything that is not changing. Now, with that in mind, asvabhava, which we think that we couldn't find any of these things. But how about asvabhava? But the existence of any object must belong to an existent reality, which means that it must be conditioned, dependent on other entities, and possessed of causes. But asvabhava is by definition unconditioned, not dependent on other entities and not cause. Thus, the existence of svabhava is impossible. So everything is asvabhava, no self, empty, without its intrinsic value. If you're reading a sutra, the Buddha is saying you have to know what is svabhava and what is asvabhava. I saw some people knit his brow and didn't know what I was talking about. Yeah, but we've been learning it for many, many years. You probably don't think that it's important. What do I care about this? People have been here studying for a long time. They know, you have to know what the universe is all about. The phenomena of the universe. Not just about, oh, Buddha, 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 give me blessings, give me life, give me prosperity, give me money, give me wealth, give me a girlfriend I love. That's not what the Buddha is teaching. The sutra going to say, everything is neither created or does it perish. We'll give an example of the water in the ocean. When the wind blows, a wave comes up. We think, oh, a wave is born. A wave is born because it comes up. A wave is born. When the wind blows it down or when it disintegrates, we say, the wave is dead. The wave disappears, vanishes. But the wave is, no, you're wrong. I am the water. I'm part of the water. It's just my form is the wave. But intrinsically, I belong to the water. When I'm a wave, I'm water. When I goes back to the water, I'm the water. How can you mistakenly recognize me that I was born, I died? I was never born. I have never died. Because if I was not born, how can I die? If you were not born, how could you die? It was only when you were born that you would die, right? If you've never been born, what's the concept of dying? For that reason, you have never been born. You are not here. You just exist on conditions. But you don't think that way. This is my ego. I am a waif. I want to protect my waif. You cannot take away my interest. And when I experience something suffering, I agonize on it. When I'm happy, I'm happy. I'm always looking for happiness. And my happiness is defined in the satisfaction of my sensual pleasures. My eyes want to see beautiful things. My ears want to listen to the dulcet sound. My nose want to smell the fragrance. My tongue want to taste animal flesh. I kill them for food because I like the freshness of the meat. And my body, I want to live in a mansion in Saunacy. My body, I want to drive a Ferrari. My body, I want to put in the most fashionable dress. Mentally, I want the recognition to be a wealthy billionaire. How do I get my money? I don't care, as long as I can be a billionaire. I call my sensual pleasure happiness. Even though the Buddha said it's not happiness. It's just temporary satisfaction of your sensual pleasures, and you term that as happiness. And then if you're a first-time comer, how does it help me? How does it help me to be happy? How does it help me to make more money? How does it help me to look for happiness? It may not help you now, but think about it. Think more about it. Just to give another example, when we turn on the light, we say electricity energy is now created, but actually it isn't created. It is there all the time. When we turn it off, we say it does not perish because it stays there all the time. When the light is on and off, it is the form, the phenomena that is creating or perishing, not the essence of it. The power is always there. You say, the power is on. The light set, the power is always there. I just changed my form. I belong to the power. You don't think so. You see, the power is on, the power is off. I'm there all the time. Don't just erroneously take the forms for granted, the material for granted. Because we're always in constant pursuit of materials that bring us a lot of suffering. Because in the process of doing it, we're creating bad karma. That bad karma leads us into the next form. Do you still want to carry this form through? The Buddha said, hopefully, this will be your last form. Don't go through another life again. Go to that nirvana. If you go into the next reincarnation, you don't know what will happen to you. The Buddha was talking to his disciples on one occasion, and the Buddha picked up a handful of sand. And the Buddha said, all those who are humans, in the next life they will be human again, reincarnate into humans again. In proportion, it's just like the sand in my hand. All those who are human now, and the next life roll into the vicious realms, becoming animals, victims of hell, ghosts, proportionately, the number is like the sand on the ground. You're not sure whether you will get into be human again. You could be an animal realm. So that's why we don't kill animals. They could be your friends. Why do you kill your previous life's friends? And most people roll not into the human realm again after they die in this life. So you're responsible for your own action, your speech, and your thought. Images on the mirror appear, we say, oh, images were born and disappear, images disappeared, coming and going, but the reflectability of the mirror is neither appearing or disappearing. What is being created or perishing is not the mirror itself, but the images. Only the phenomena come and go. Our body, as we give an example of hotel. In previous life, we booked this hotel with our karmic energy, and we live in this hotel. And then in the next life, if we continue the karmic energy, continue creating karmas, we roll into the next body. But the person to check in and check out is still you. You check in that body. You one day would check out from that body. We go on a holiday, we call up, we say, oh, Shangri-La, or 4 Point Sheraton, you name it. You want to book good hotels, economical and good. You want to book a good hotel, the lowest fee. You want to make sure that there's buffet for breakfast, and you make sure that the breakfast is included. And you want to book all this and book all that to satisfy your material pleasure. Have you ever thought of booking for the next hotel in your next life? Who would do that? Who would book a hotel for the next life? Who cares? Book it now. If you don't want to reincarnate, book it now. Make preparation. It will be too late. When you're lying on a deathbed and breathing your last breath, what hotel you're going into? Too late. You have not done the booking. Hopefully you don't need to book a hotel. You become the Buddha. You return home to the water. You're not a wave anymore. You're one. You're oneness with water. You're oneness with that intrinsic, we don't know how to call it, Buddha nature. There's no word for it. Words are just games. Words are just notions. But if we don't say it, we don't understand it. So the Buddha said Buddha nature. For the sake of calling it, you return to that. For the sake of calling it, the wave returning to the water, or the rotten leaves return to the soil. When the flowers wither, when the leaves wither away, fall to the soil, you say the flower is dead. The leaf is dead. But the flower and the leaf said, no, I'm not dead. I'm just returning to the soil where I come from. I'm oneness with the tree. More than just oneness with the tree, I'm oneness with the soil. More than just oneness with the soil, I'm oneness with the weather, with the whole universe. There's nothing in the universe that is not oneness with me. When you're oneness with the universe, you have no suffering. That's what we mean by oneness. No discrimination, no conceptualization, no perception. So that's the reason we say no five skandhas, no volition, no conception, no conceptualization. You make the conceptualization. Your nature, the most powerful nature in you, has been covered up. It's just like a mirror has been covered up by dirt and dust. What the sutra says, neither created or does it perish, just explaining it by words of philosophy is not enough. You need examples. Think about the examples of the wave in the water. We got a piece of paper. We light it up and burn it. And we say, the paper disappeared. The paper is dead. So the paper says, no, I'm not dead. When you burn me up, the heat rises up. The ashes go to the ground. When the heat rises up, it mixed with the universe. It mixed with the moistures, and I'm one of the moistures. It becomes rain. Precipitation would become rain. Rain would get into the ground. The ground would what? The ground would go into the soil. The soil would go into the tree. The tree will grow. The branches, the trees will get into the pulp. The pulp become a paper. So the paper said, I've never been born. I will never die. I'm oneness. Why do we say all these things? Don't attach to forms. Don't attach to your body. Don't attach to material pursuit of sensual satisfaction. That leads you to suffering. So, neither pure or impure, neither defile and immaculate. That's what the sutra says. We use sunshine as an example. When the sun shines on a murky and polluted river, the sunlight in the water does not get polluted. When the sun shines on the clear and pure water, the sunlight in the water does not get purer. It's one. It's always one. It's not any purer or it's not any impurer. So it's neither defile or immaculate, as what the example shows. What's the objective of the Buddha talking about these things? The Buddha says, don't attach to materials. Find the essence of it. Find the prajna of it. Get rid of the sensual pleasures. That gets you into trouble. Neither increasing nor decreasing. The Buddha is giving us example, using digging as an example. We dig 1 foot into the ground, we feel we get 1 foot of space. We increase space by 1 foot. But think about it. The space is always the same. You say, I build a house and I gain a space of this 4,000 square feet. Even if I didn't build a house, the space is still there. It's already there. You just enclosed it and you call it space. And then when you fill up that hole with soil, you say, I decreased a foot of space. No. There's still a space in there, but you just filled it up with soil. You understand? Nothing has increased and nothing has decreased. What is cosmic existence? Cosmic existence is classified into 2 dharmas, we call it. When you're reading a sutra, when dharma is capitalized, it means an explanation of philosophy. When it is not capitalized, it means everything. Everything is called dharma. Dharma is classified into either mental elements or material elements. Material or non-material. It's either physical or metaphysical. Right? There's no other things. Physical, you can see, you can feel, you can touch, you can listen, you can taste as physical. Non-metaphysical is something your senses are not perceptible to it. In other words, your senses cannot feel it. And we sometimes call it spiritual. 2 elements. We can broadly classify the whole world into these 2 elements. Everything we see, we feel, we touch, they're material. But how about what we think? Can you grab what you think? No. Can you smell what you think? No. Can you taste what you think? No. Can you see what you think? No. They are mental. So if we further classify it, we say material, we call it matter or form. So that's the reason why in Sutra we say form is emptiness, emptiness is form. Form is not other than emptiness, emptiness is not other than form. It's just the same as to say as matter is emptiness, emptiness is matter. Molecules, photons, electrons, you name it, matter. Body cells, that's the material elements. And then there's the spiritual, mental element. Perception comes first and then sensation. This is all related to mental. Other than material, we also have the mental. When we are doing meditation, we're working at this, the mental elements. The matter element, we have the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body. We have the brain, so that's the reason why part of it belongs to the matter. But other than the brain part, all these is perception, volition, consciousness, the left and the right hand hemispheres. And not just the material part, the spiritual part. Before I introduce you to a book, that book was written by Jill Taylor, now I remember, My Stroke of Insight. It explains the 2 hemispheres of the brain. And other than just the molecules, body cells, it explains also the perception, the conception, the volitions. And she's not a Buddhist, but the study, she's a Harvard professor, a brain specialist, and her study shows that there's a lot in the mental side that we haven't discovered. And our left hemisphere here, left, is responsible for learning languages, remembering, everything we learned, our movements of the body, everything mostly is here. But the right hemisphere, most part of it hasn't been used. And the right hemisphere relates to enlightenment. In other words, you can always use your right hemisphere of the brain to nurture your left hemisphere. That's the reason why when she paralyzed for 3 years, because she was a brain specialist, she was able to use the right hemisphere to nurture back the left hemisphere. After being a plant for 3 years, speak, move, recover almost 95%. Read that book. It didn't say anything about Buddha, but she is a brain specialist who got a stroke for 3 years and she recovered from it. And most part of what she said coincide with what the Buddha said. It's interesting to read it. My Stroke of Insight. Get it from Amazon, in your iPad or whatever. Read that book. It has a lot to tie in with what I was talking about.